la durée de la présentation, il sera strictement interdit d'entrer ou de quitter la salle. La porte restera fermée jusqu'à ce que la présentation soit terminée. Une fois la présentation terminée, je vous invite à sortir par la porte à l'arrière. À aucun moment, les participants ne peuvent être identifiés à leur université d'appartenance sous peine de disqualification. Chacune des équipes aura 20 minutes pour présenter son analyse devant le jury. Chacun des participants devra prendre la parole. Une période de 5 minutes pour les questions des juges suivra la présentation. Au terme de cette période de questions, je laisserai aux participants la courtoisie de finir de répondre à la question si ceux-ci sont en plein milieu de réponse. J'indiquerai aux équipes le temps qu'il restera au fur et à mesure de votre présentation. Donc, avec les pancartes ici, donc 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5, 2, 30 secondes et les derniers 10 secondes vont être avec mes mains. Par la suite, dès que le temps sera écoulé, dans le fond, je couperai l'équipe afin de poursuivre pour les questions. J'invite maintenant les juges à se présenter.
Bonjour. Mon nom est Daniel Pince, je suis dans la fonction publique et je suis CRH depuis à peu près une quinzaine d'années.
Nadine Tremblay, CRH également, je travaille en cabinet privé.
Bonjour, moi c'est Justine Lecontrousseau, je suis CRIA et ça fait à peu près 5 ans que je travaille dans le domaine des ressources humaines.
L'équipe est maintenant invitée à débuter sa présentation.
En tant que jeune adulte, je comprends. Non, mais je comprends vraiment la dépendance que nous avons envers nos cellulaires. Alors, je vous présente Chanel, David et moi-même Émilie, et nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour vous aider à mieux gérer votre personnel. So where are you now? It is fantastic. There is a low turnover for our permanent staff, and the hotel has an exceptional reputation and is not even associated with a large chain. There's a great sense of belonging among our employers. But, unfortunately, there are things to work on. We do have a low return of our seasonal staff. We have a divide amongst our permanent and our seasonal employees, as well as we are losing clients due to the recent social media scandal. So where do you want to be? We want a higher rate of return for seasonal employees. We also want to better integrate the ones that we have at the workplace. And finally, we want more guidance for HR and management to really be able to communicate more efficiently with their employees. So we were given a mandate. The mandate is to improve the current HR capabilities to really better improve and manage the personnel. So we really want to consider 4 things. First, and most importantly, and there's a big sense of urgency here, the current crisis that is happening, the Instagram and Facebook. Second, the codes of conduct, or the absence of code of conduct in the company. 3, summer recruitment. We have trouble recruiting and we really want to be able to better that. And 4, the lack of HR training, not only to our managers, but to the employees coming in as well. So we are dealing with the current crisis to start. What does that mean? First of all, Sarah's been using her secret Instagram and Facebook for her personal use and leaking information. This created a leak, and now our reputation is in danger. Clients trust us. Clients come to us to really feel like they know that they're gonna be there without it leaking. But now, since it's leaked, we lost trust, and there's a hotel cancellation, and we have clients that are not returning. And finally, because we don't have any contractual obligations and we simply agreed verbally and by trust, it is really hard to go back and explain to Sarah she was really not allowed to do that. Therefore, creating a formal confidentiality agreement is really going to avoid this situation from happening again. Let's talk about policies now. So, cell phone usage at work. We see it's a big thing, not only with Sarah, but for everybody. And especially given the industry we're in right now, cell phones and cameras are very detrimental to our clients. And there's a lack of professionalism by using them. There was no written warnings like previously stated, and now we're dealing with an HR complaint because she believes that the managers are not understanding what she's trying to do by having her cell phone and her generational needs. That's why written contracts are going to avoid ambiguity between HR, managers, and employee. Code of conducts that precisely write the rules down will really help everybody to better understand the rules and regulations within the company. Summer recruitment now. So this is the most important thing to remember, is that 25% are non-returning seasonal employees. Now, what do we want to do here is really understand that seasonal employees are really beneficial to us, and we invest hours of training and really money into them, and we don't want them to come for a summer and not come back. We also tell them that there's a May to an indefinite period of time, which might be seen as a negative if they would rather plan for their summer, if maybe they want to have a certain end date, that would better allow them to come work with a planned organization. And finally, we do have restricted vacation policies. But overall, maintaining good relationships with our summer employees is actually going to lead them to choose us for long-term career choices, especially picking people from hotel management students. We really want them to see it and have good relationships and good experiences, so eventually when they graduate, their first option is to come straight to us. HR training. So we have Mark, the manager of reception and information teams. They love him. He's engaged. He answers his phone outside of work hours. He even visits to make sure everything is flowing properly. And the workers trust him. Unfortunately, he does have experience, which is fantastic, 10 years of experience. But he still lacks that formal HR training that really strengthens his knowledge and his way of training employees. He is responsible for training his team too. So without that formal HR training, we're putting his knowledge and we're transmitting it to our summer employees, which we would like to see come back again. So we really want to invest training, but invest in the appropriate training. So formally training managers to better understand HR is really going to allow that communication amongst us all. So that's why we recommend le cartésien, les directions de l'avenir. What does this do? This impacts us on 4 fronts. First of all, we have increased seasonal employee retention, which is key to the company right now. 2, the unity amongst the employees. The generation gap, we need to blend them better, and this is what the implementation will do for you. 3, better HR guidance. By having policies, by having all that, we'll have guidance for our managers. And finally, this plan will help us regain our reputation amongst our clients who have simply lost trust in us since the recent scandal. So now I would like to pass on the floor to my colleague David, who will further explain the implementation.
Thank you, Emily. So now that we mentioned what our plan is, let's talk about more in depth what does that entail. So, le cartésien, les directions de l'avenir. What does that mean? This is a way for you to streamline your operations and all your procedures for your employees to all look towards the same goal. So you're going to include everyone, and you're going to make sure that employees and your management staff are all empowered to go in the same direction. And you really want to focus on the future of your company. So seeing how you can grow in the company, how can you explore new roles, and how can you grow within le cartésien. So if you look at our implementation overview, we divide it in 3 steps. First, check-in. Second, enjoy your stay. And third, the checkout. So this is a 12-month period that will allow to better your communications, your training, and your employee retention and recruitment. First of all, in the check-in, this is the first part of your process. You're going to have a general meeting. You're going to meet with Sarah to discuss the issues that are at hand. You're going to have public relations announcement because it's important to consider external priority as well. You're going to change your contracts and policies to make sure that they encompass everything that you can cover. In the enjoy your stay, so the medium term, 1 to 6 months, you're going to cover the management training aspect of our recommendation. You're going to better the recruitment process as a whole to make sure that you reduce the time to hire and cost to hire as well. You're going to launch lunch and learn sessions that will allow employees to share their knowledge and to grow within the company. And then in the checkout phase, so 6 to 12 months, this is really when you want to evaluate and conclude this recommendation for the next year. You're going to introduce a hotel manager for a day program that will allow you to get people in the door. All-inclusive events for all your employees so that they can bond and get to know each other on another level. You're going to have seasonal review for your seasonal employees, and you're going to make sure to better your current employees' reviews as well. And you're going to introduce a mentorship program that will allow your employees to better be trained. So if we look at the checkout phase, so you're going to meet with Sarah. This is extremely important that you do this extremely quickly. So if we explain to Sarah what was the wrongful behavior and how to move forward, we believe that she should know and she should accept the consequences. We recommend to you that you request for all the information to be deleted from all the pages so that there's no backlash and nobody can go back, look at it, share it again and again. However, being on internet, everything that has been shared or has been publicized is now available to everyone. So you really want to mitigate future attacks and future scandals. Have a union representative in that meeting. This is extremely important because you want to consider that as an employer, you did your due diligence and you are aware of what the impacts of that meeting could have. You're going to ask for an apologies from Sarah on all social media platforms that she used. So after deleting all the posts, she will be posting, I am very sorry about that. Those were my personal belief. They didn't represent the company's value, nor did they represent the company's opinion. Just separating the facts for the company and for Sarah as well. And it's going to be important to communicate with your customers that were affected because they are high status people and you don't want them to be bashing on your company or negatively affecting your future. So you're going to apologize directly to them through emails, phone calls, or without breaching their privacy if they accepted for you to contact them in the future. Just want to make sure that you also have that consent. And then you're also going to have a general meeting. This general meeting will talk about what happened, what are the consequences for the business, really empowering your employees to know a little bit more about what happened. This will allow your employees to really be concerned and see the value of such actions. So we are certain that this will make sure that in the future, those actions are not repeated. And why we want that, why when you just left it alone and forget about it so that your employees are still aware of some things, but they're not aware of everything, because you really want to make sure that everyone is aware. The impact on the business are detrimental in the long run, so you want to make sure that this is avoided in the future. And you're going to stress that for now, until there's a procedure or policy, all cell phones will be extremely prohibited in the workplace. So during your role, when you are paid, you are not allowed to use your cell phone under any considerations. And this should be done today or tomorrow, because you want to make sure everyone is aware as soon as possible. So in the rest of the check-in phase, so public relations, you're going to send out an apology. You already send one through social media, so affected clients, just making sure that they're aware that you're extremely sorry and that this would never happen again. You're going to explain the actions taken by the company to make sure that it doesn't happen moving forward. So you're going to introduce policies and you want to explain to them that those actions will never be tolerated at your company. And then stress the new initiatives to make sure that it happens. Contracts and policies. As a company like you, where you deal with high status people, you want to make sure that nobody is allowed to take pictures or relate the facts of your customers. In any other hotel, an employee having a cell phone can be very meaningless, and when they have free time, it's not a problem. But in your company, any threat or issue can be detrimental to your reputation. So you really want to focus on the positive and make sure that your employees understand why you are doing this. This will allow them to better understand the change and adopt it. So as part of your new hiring process, you're going to introduce a non-disclosure agreement that covers all of your customers, if it's not done already. And just want to focus. Maybe your current NDA has legal implications, so you want to focus and see how did Sarah breach it, if it was the case. Social media and cell phone policy. As we see it wasn't the case that it was there. So you want to introduce something that will allow your employees to be aware of what they're allowed and what they're not allowed to post on social media. And then go through a 3-step warning process that's going to be introduced to employees. You don't want to surprise them and tell them, oh, you're fired because you posted something. Even though it might seem unethical, some employees might not see it. So you really want to consider a 3-step process through verbal, written, and verbal warnings, and then a suspension if needed, depending on what you have in your agreements with the unions in place. So, enjoy your stay. Now that we've mitigated the scandal in the short term, how are we going to make sure that you are able to grow as a company? Management training. Currently, your managers are not necessarily trained on HR. So even though you're a small company, it's great. You've been doing super well so far. You want to train your managers and team leaders and so on how to deal with employees. So that can be employee relations, that can be training and development. You want to introduce them to the basics of HR so that they are aware of what to do in any circumstance. How to give training, for example. Training might seem very ad hoc, but it's important to know how to give proper training because this will allow better retention and better productivity overall. So manage expectation as well. As the policies are introduced, it's important for managers to be able to embrace the change and manage employees' expectation because you want to make sure that everyone can adopt that change. improve recruitment. So you've mentioned to us that it's hard for you to recruit those seasonal jobs. So we want to give an end date to the employment. Right now, they pretty much leave on their own after they don't get hours for Labor Day weekend. You want to make sure that you give them an end date. This will better manage their expectation and will enhance their experience at your company. This is extremely useful when it comes to long-term hiring. You spend that time to recruit that person, but when they graduate, you might have a position to fill. So you want to keep those great relationships. Before they accept this seasonal internship, send them a letter. Tell them that you're excited to see them and create that desire to work at your company. In the second part of the Enjoy Your Stay, Lunch and Learns. We mentioned that. What is it? It's a way for employees to better integrate and share their knowledge. Older employees might be more aware of the hotel industry or might have funny stories to share to newer and seasonal employees. Or seasonal employees might want to share how this hotel is managing their social media platform for a new social media in the future. So you really want to stress how sharing your knowledge is so important in this type of industry. It's going to act as a development and learning program for you. Mentorship program. This is the best way for you to learn, to train your employees. You have very senior people that have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and you want to have new people come in the door for a fresh new start. But how to bridge that gap, we recommend to you to implement a mentorship program. This mentorship program would take 5% of a seasonal employee's time and would match it with somebody who is in mostly tenured position, and they're going to be able to learn new tasks, learn new roles, explore new aspects of the hotel management industry. And it's going to be based on their job tasks and roles, not on general training or hotel industry. It's really based on what they do on a day-to-day basis. Now I'm going to pass it on to Chanel, who's going to go over the checkout phase.
Thank you. So the last step of our implementation is really about investing in the future for Le Cartésien. So what are we planning on doing? We want to have a hotel manager for a day event. So basically, the hotel manager is going to go to various schools and really try and talk to them about what working at Le Cartésien is really like. This is going to serve as a form of recruitment. Now, we put out a few schools like Le Collège Champlain, Collège La Salle, because we know that they have hotel management programs offered at the school. So this is perfect students that would want to work for us. Next, we want to have all-inclusive events. We want to stress the fact that these events are going to be all-inclusive so that all the different staff members are going to come together and there's no longer going to feel like there's that division amongst seasonal employees and full-time employees. So we want to ensure a good last impression. So for the employees that are not going to be here permanently, that are seasonal, we want to leave them with a good impression. So we're going to have an event basically highlighting all the fun things that we have at CA to really get them motivated to come back to working at Le Cartésien. Lastly, we want to have reviews. Now, this is going to be very important because it's investment for not just our company, but for the growth of our employees. How are we planning on doing this? Well, we're going to have an employee satisfaction review as well as an employee performance review. This is going to serve as a way for employees to really show where they feel satisfied and where, let's say, there is a common trait in which every employee feels less satisfied with. So we'll really be able to fix that. And also, the manager will sit down with the employees after the reviews have been done and highlight their strengths, but more importantly, talk about their weaknesses to really help them grow at their job. Also, we want to offer a job for the next summer. So we'll sit down with them and let them know at the end of their seasonal working at our company and tell them, we really enjoyed having you here and we would love for you to come back next year. Now, our business is our people. We really want to stress the fact that your staff is vital to your company. So this is why we want to invest in them. Now, if we take a financial overview, we are putting $1,000 aside for management training costs because we feel that your management should be properly trained as it will save you costs in the future. Also, we're putting $5,000 aside for the cost for reviews because this is really going to help your employees in terms of performance, and it will also let us know where your employees are, let's say, dissatisfied or having concerns. We're putting $2,000 aside for the managers for a day because that's a really good way of getting new talent and staff coming to work for us, which brings us into a total of $18,500, which I can more than happily go into detail in the Q&A. So this is a breakdown of the detailed financials, starting with the welcome letters, building up to the all-inclusive events. Now, what does success look like to us? Number one, employee satisfaction. We want your employees to be satisfied. So we want an 85% job satisfaction rate. We want 95% completion rate of these evaluations because this is the exact way in which we can get feedback from. As for performance, we want 80% overall performance and an 85% rate of the satisfaction from the service received from clients because we want to know that they're also being satisfied. Lastly, as for retention, we want a 25% increase in the retention rate for the seasonal workers. We want them to feel like they want to come back, and it'll help us because we won't have to go looking for new employees every year, spending time and money trying to find new talent when we've already invested in good talent at our company. And we want a 20% decrease in the hiring cost. Now, a few risks that we had, for example, are like Sarah, she will not close the account like the Instagram and the Facebook. We mitigated this by having a sit-down one-on-one meeting with her, expressing how important it is to bring these posts down because it is affecting people's lives. And if that does not work, we'll go into legal implications. And I can further discuss more risk and mitigations in the Q&A. Now, le cartésien. Our idea was les directions de l'avenir. We were able to solve this by having a regained reputation, increased seasonal employee retention, unity amongst employees, and better HR guidance for managers. We don't only want your staff to feel good, but we want your customers to feel happy at our place also. Thank you.
I'd like to hear you into what do you see in the lunch and learn sessions?
Yeah. So for example, that could be one of your most tenured employees talking about how they make everyone stay great. So for example, little touches here and there, learning the name of their customers, and really little attentions that you would only know after a few years in the industry. So that would add value to your new employee, but also new employee could share some things such as how to use Facebook to your most tenured employee who want to use it in their personal lives. This will really create a bond between the two groups, having a better work environment and making them more productive in the end.
How, someone else maybe, how do you address the harassment complaint, Chanel?
So as for the harassment complaint, we definitely want to sit down with her and let her know that, okay, we do understand that there were no policies that were put in place, but we do have to help her understand that there are effects to the damages that were done. That this is really in terms of privacy. So we're really gonna not be too hostile with her, just really take a more understanding stance with it.
Can you tell me more about the hotel manager for a day? Because I'm not sure about what's the purpose again and what's the ROI we would have if we go with it.
Sure. So hotel manager for a day is really a recruitment tool for us. We really want to make sure that the people that are coming in are really loving what they do, but they also see what they're getting into. Because maybe somebody came for a summer, didn't like it because that wasn't what they wanted to do in their life. So by being a manager for a day, by seeing what it is, they get that sense of what they're joining right off the bat. So that's definitely something we want for long-term investment in hotel management careers.
Okay, so it's for management.
For recruitment.
For recruitment, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Another question. At the implementation overview, you say that you have some changed contracts and policies, and who did that? Do you do that? Or?
So the HR department is going to take care of doing the contracts. We definitely budgeted for costs because we do have lawyers that need to get involved as well, just to make sure that the contracts are well written. But definitely we're going to make sure that the HR takes on that role.
And what are the legal implications if Sarah refused to close her account?
Well, basically at that point, we would consult because, well, first of all, we really don't want to take legal implications because we know that that can be a bit extreme, but legal implications, we would have her know that, let's say, the different celebrities that are staying at our hotel feel threatened, that these are the, let's say, the costs or how they feel violated, and how, like, there's a consequence for it. So we would, let's say, have to consult a lawyer or let her know that there are lawyers involved, but this is definitely something that we don't want to have to go for. That's why we're going to sit down with her calmly and explain the consequences.
Okay, thank you.
I understand this is an HR case, but there is a marketing job that needs to be done, so how would you address that? Say there's no marketing person in the place.
Yeah. So definitely you're going to have to contact the same channels that the news was spread. This is why we asked Sarah to delete all of the information she leaked, and then saying how it was her personal belief and how the hotel doesn't represent those beliefs, but information was still leaked. So you want to, for example, send a press release to local media, or there are some journals in the industry of hotel management that could release that information, and that are actually point of contact for those high celebrity people that will look for those stay away, or there are even some companies such as Hotel Management Incorporated that international, that book hotels for larger celebrity clients. So you really want to address them, send them to them the information, so that because they are the first point of contact in booking for those individuals, and making sure that everyone is aware that you're very sorry and this will never happen again as a company.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.